Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to WSLR LP 96.5 FM Sarasota and WBPV LP 100.1 FM Bradenton. I'm your host, DJ Nomad, and I am thrilled to be here with kind of retrowave indie electronica powerhouse, Chris, aka Manhatten. Manhatten, thanks for being here, man.
No, no, not at all. Thanks for having me and embarrassing me with that intro. It's I'm terrible at taking compliments. I try to be better, but I'm not very good at it. I don't feel I deserve it.
I feel like that's true of a lot of British people.
Yeah.
Very humble. The guy that I do music with, he's an artist as well. His
Yeah.
family and most of his background is from the UK, and
Okay, cool.
that's pretty common. So don't worry, I appreciate it. My dad loved self-deprecation and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I certainly appreciate where you're coming from. But I think an apt description. I mean, you have been pumping out a lot of really good electronica, all different kinds of genres, and we've got to dive into it. So
Yeah, yeah, no,
first thing though.
I'm glad that people are enjoying it. That's the main thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know for certain that at least a couple times that I've brought in your name up in conversations, people have known who you are. So at minimum, you've got some name recognition going on, which
Oh,
is
that's fine. That's the bar I set. That's fine.
they know who you are. No, you've made some really great stuff. And I want to get you kind of for listeners laid out, almost like a 3D grid here,
hmm
plopping down the different artists around the world that I interview. You're in the UK. Are you
Yeah.
still in Portsmouth?
But yeah, no, still within Portsmouth. Originally, we came from my wife and I both from Cambridge, which is
Okay.
north of London, about an hour north of London, more to the kind of east side of the
Okay. Very
country.
cool.
But moved down here 16 years, yeah, 16 and a bit years ago. So I've been here for a while.
What's the kind of, the indie electronica, the more retro leaning stuff? What's the scene like there, would you say?
It's not
Okay.
something that I've ever really encountered or been part of in person, partly sort of time commitments and stuff like that. And if it's happening a sort of bit further away, there's a good sort of like music scene in Portsmouth, but I wouldn't describe it as sort of heavy on any kind of retro stuff or indie electronica stuff. There's the popular sort of like nights that they'll put on at like the clubs and stuff like that, but that is much more of a kind of generic.
Like
Hey,
house music.
everyone remember the '90s kind of thing, and everyone's oh yeah, that's so retro, and it's like no, it's not. I remember going to the cinema to watch Jurassic Park, and they were like, yeah, no, that came out like 3 years before I was born, and it's like oh. That seems to be my yardstick that I use. Stuff that happened before Jurassic Park and stuff that happened after Jurassic Park. I don't know why.
Oh, wow.
I didn't mind it as a film, but I wasn't mad on it. But it just seems to be the line in the sand that I use.
That was 97, I believe. So,
Was it? I thought it was
yeah.
earlier than that. All right, maybe I feel better about myself then. I thought it was earlier.
I'm pretty sure Jurassic Park was 97. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, yeah,
You mentioned working with younger kids. What do you
yeah.
what do you do for, work outside of your
So
music?
I mean, I'm really fortunate. I work as I think my title technically now is I'm an audio director, but audio director, sound designer, sort of for video games mostly, but we've done the company I work for, we've done some TV stuff and some film stuff and do some sort of voice acting in terms of direction and sort of editing and stuff like that, and a little bit of composition for it, but not much. Generally, it tends to be working with the composers to lay out briefs and feedback and then implement it.
How did you, I'm sure you have a background playing video games and stuff like that, but how did you get into that field of work?
Um, this would have been early 2000s. So
Okay.
PlayStation 2-ish, maybe 3 kind of era, if it helps date it.
Hmm.
So I was interested in that, did my project on that. I was working in like a video game shop, retailer at the time. Uh Found that about 10 minutes from where I was living, there was like a video game studio called Jagex. I don't know. Have you ever played a game called RuneScape? It was like an MMO RPG.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't played it in forever, but I have
Yeah,
played.
yeah, no one has, but yeah, that's so found out that's where they were based, sort of 10 minutes. So I finished my degree, just basically found where the offices were, and sort of sent a lot of emails. Can I have a job? Can I have a job? Can I have a job? And then yeah, job came up. So that's I managed to get in like that. It was just like you want to go and be a video game composer. It's like, would you like a job as a video game composer? It's like, yes, I would. Thank you. That'd be great. So it
Ah,
was
so that was your first job in the field, was the
yeah, yeah.
composer?
I think I was in the I think I was in customer service for like a little bit, kind of foot in the door kind of thing, and then found where the audio team was, and then was banging on the door every day. Hey, have you got any jobs? I'd love to do it. Can I have a job?
Well, it
And then
shows your persistence paid off, right?
yeah, I mean right place at right time.
Yeah, so let's dive in real quick, like, how you got into production itself. Do you remember how you got into, going from having ideas maybe in your head to
Yeah.
actually producing music? And then, like, on top of that, why do you think you are so drawn to a lot of these, like, nostalgic sound palettes?
I think I got more into like the production of it like, as I do now because I wasn't very good at playing instruments in a band. So but I see I never remember. I remember sort of going to school and the opportunity for music lessons and that, and I wasn't interested, not in the slightest.
Hmm.
And then I don't know, it must have been like late teens or something. I don't know. Music. I'd always listened to music, but I think then I started to really kind of pick it apart a little bit and so how did they do that? How did they do that? And then kind of try and work it out and got myself like a cheap keyboard and maybe got myself like a cracked copy of Cubase or something like that, and just just started playing around, and then sort of found, oh, that's interesting if I do that, and then it just, oh, I wonder how I would do that, and it's like one thing led to another, and it's just kind of gone on from there. Really, it was just kind of like a curiosity, and tried playing in sort of various bands when I was younger, and it
Hmm.
was, I don't know, I tend to work better on my own. There's less people to disagree with. So the
Yeah.
the whole sort of being able to do it bedroom kind of producer, with a computer and stuff like that, really appealed to me. That it was great. I can do it on my own. I can argue with myself, but that will be it.
You wanted
So
that creative control.
yeah, I think so. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's
Nothing wrong with
but
that.
it was and it just went from there, and it just kind of like has kept going as a thing. And then I think the move toward the retro was always because I've always liked sort of electronic music of varying kinds, and I seem to recall that I must have heard uh oh God, see now I forgot the name, Resonance by Home.
Hmm.
Huge. I came across that one day, and I can't remember where. It must have been on SoundCloud or something like that. And just remember hearing it and thinking, "Wow, this is great." I love the perceived simplicity of it, and like that kind of wonky sounding, sounds really old, but isn't actually that old kind of idea behind it. And then it was, oh, I should find some more of this. I wanted to set myself like a bit of a deadline, a bit of a project that I could do. That I set some very clear kind of, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have it done, just to get back in the swing of finishing something, not
Hmm.
just starting an idea and then never doing anything with it.
I feel like a lot
So
of artists are plagued by
yeah.
that.
So and that's where I won't call it the Manhattan Project because there's already something called the Manhattan Project, but it was that's where it came from. And
Mm.
that's where the first Blue Sky Girl album just came from. It was literally that. It was, I'm gonna start something and I want to finish it. And then out of that ideas came, and it was just like, I found that a lot of ideas came from it, and it was like, oh, I got that one, oh, another one, and another one, and another one. So it's like, great. It's maybe this is it.
And so the other thing you kind of mentioned it earlier, but I don't want to skip over
Sure.
your name, Manhattan. Did you say that the idea for naming yourself that came from the Manhattan Project?
No,
Or
I mean,
that's
it might. Don't see. I remember there was a project I was looking at. I say I had a friend. I still have a friend that he's a really good guitarist and composer, and we were sort of playing around with the idea of doing a project, and we were tossing names around, and I know that the name Manhattan came up in that. I don't remember why, but I know it came up out of that kind of talking about bands, what would we call it, etc. kind of name.
Mhm.
So when I was looking for a name for this project, that's where it was up there. So that's and it seemed to fit. It seemed to sort of the only time I remember sort of hearing about Manhattan in New York, a lot of out of sort of old 80s movies and that kind of thing. And it was like, okay, so it's already got kind of a retro nostalgic vibe for myself. And it's
Mhm.
I suppose when you come from the UK, it's maybe connected to like a little bit of seeming like the glamour and whatnot. It's foreign, it's exotic, but it kind of represents because it's like a big urban kind of area. There's a there's a coldness to the idea of it. The skyscrapers and the big concrete and steel and stuff like that, which I quite liked. It had a few things going to it. So I think that's why I came up with it. And then of course I misspelt it. So that's where the E comes from rather than the A. It's because I can't spell.
Ah, that's what was a
And it
mistake.
was
Okay.
yeah. And I was like Manhattan. Okay, that's E-N. Okay, great. And then everyone's like, oh, why have you spelt it with an E? And it's like, well, is it not spelt with an E? And I was like, no, it's like Manhattan. And it's like, oh. Okay, sorry,
Hey.
I've already done it now, so it'll stay with the E. And then people will say, "Why has it got the E?" And I thought, oh, I'll have to come up with a really clever story about why it's got the E, but no, it's because I can't spell.
Well, I appreciate the honesty and you kind of accidentally made it more unique.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So,
it was. I'd love to say I meant it.
now, have you ever been to Manhattan before?
No, no, no. It was, and I think that was maybe part of it again because it represented kind of another time. I remember hearing again a lot about it in like 80s movies and stuff that would be in New York, and they must have said it like, a few times, and it was obviously just in the back of my mind from that. But I didn't naming things isn't something that I find particularly easy. It's like with albums and songs and stuff like that, they don't have names like right up until the last moment. It's very rare that I ever come up with an idea and the name is quite early. Normally it's something idea, something test, something version 23 or something really functional but really quite boring.
Okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like I've met quite a few artists that are similar. Naming things
Yeah.
is kind of a difficult part of the process. But no, nonetheless, I appreciate the honesty and kind of giving us insight into your moniker. And I also
Yeah.
wanted to touch on, I know you have some stuff from the future 80s
Yeah.
time, but you do have your own Bandcamp, and it does have a description that I just wanted to read
Yeah.
and get you to elaborate on, which is it sounds like something that possibly happened, but probably didn't.
Having been born and lived through the 80s, it's the idea of a lot of this stuff kind of leaning back to it is toward like a time, it's toward like a vibe and all that never really, at least for me, never really existed outside of like, a handful of movies and stuff like that. It's all
Mhm.
seemingly, and it interested me. It's kind of nostalgic for a time that never, for a time and place that never really happened. It's
Yeah.
like this, it's not even, it's when people are nostalgic for other times and stuff like that, they did actually happen. Whereas this kind of, the 80s happened, but it didn't happen like this. The 80s weren't pink and cyan, they were brown. They were brown and everything was wood paneled and,
Yeah.
ashtrays everywhere. Exactly that kind of thing. It was, so it always struck me as quite interesting that there was this kind of desire and sort of longing for a time
Yeah.
but painted in a way that isn't really that connect, or at least for me, in my experience, didn't really feel that connected. So that I think that's where that was my idea for it. It sounds like something that probably possibly happened because that's what it sounds like. It probably didn't happen though.
Yeah.
So that's I
Well,
came up with that and thought, yeah, that's fine. That's
Well, I love that description. I just thought it was really cool, and I wanted to mention. It's kind of reminds me of nostalgia in general, which
yeah.
is like this kind of rosier remembering of what happened than actually how it happened. One of the other things that kind of we've mentioned a little bit earlier, and for anybody, any of the SynthWorld listeners that get the chance to listen to your catalog, definitely should. It's a really cool, I think, deep dive into a big swath of like the indie electronica area of electronic music. There's just so many kind of subgenres you touch on. I think
Yeah.
I stumbled upon your more like kind of classic, synthwave,
Yeah.
synth kind of stuff, but you also have like really like ambient, dreamy realms that you explore. Then you have like more intense, crazy terrain that's like space synth, dark synth kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then all the way that I found like dancey stuff that's like, disco, new disco,
Yeah.
your funk. I even heard
Yeah.
a jungle song. It's really cool. And I love when artists do that. I've interviewed quite a few that kind of are not bound to one area. And I'm just curious, is that intentional or did that just kind of, was that you following your ear?
I think it's of the two, it's following my ear. It would just be,
Mm.
I've done something and then, maybe I've listened to something or I stumble across an album or an artist or something and then listen and think, oh, I like that. And then that seems to be where the kind of the attention switches to. And then it's always that kind of, I wonder if I could do that. Or I
Mm.
hear something, I thought, oh, that I like that. And then it's almost like if I try and, I often find trying to recreate something, not like a literal copy, but would hear an artist and go, I wonder if I could try and make something that sounded like that. And then you kind of put your own spin on it, or you kind of do it, and then you think, okay, that was good, and I'll take that bit of it and that bit of it and that bit of it, and then I'll try and do something else with it. And then, you're just kind of taking sort of bits of it and then sort of taking that. If I take that bit from that and then that bit from that, and I know I've got this bit from over here, and just kind of building it up like that, and it tends to go off in different directions, and then it's just what I like to do at the moment. I've got so many projects, as I'm sure many people have, that I've started. The jungle one you touched on, got like a whole album of stuff written with that kind of, it's like more ambient kind of PlayStation jungle kind of vibe to it. I mean, I was big into sort of like jungle and drum and bass in the 90s. That was kind of my punk at the time. I was obviously for the first like explosion of punk in 70s and sort of early 80s and new wave and stuff like that. I wasn't born or was far too young for it. So when it's kind of this kind of underground music that people made like in the bedrooms with a sampler, it didn't require that much. It didn't require like a formal kind of musical education or any kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
That was like, wow, that's great. I could do that, and that's the ethos of punk. I'm a punk at heart in that respect.
Mhm.
That it's that whole kind of. It's great that you can hear it and people can go, wow, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, just like hip hop, drum and bass and
Yeah,
jungle also have like elements of like punk culture that
yeah,
are immersed in it, and kind of like counterculture
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like that, that I love. And as you mentioned, kind of also bringing down some of the barriers that stopped people from either enjoying that music or making it themselves and being a
yeah,
part of that community. So I love that. I feel that the retro scene in general has not a lot of that, but it has a tinge of that to it as well. The kind of community that's there, which at least I've experienced. I think it's wonderful. I love that stuff. And um, you talk a lot like there's quite a bit of intention behind what you're doing and what you're going for. And I feel like it's pretty fair to say that you have quite a few albums that are like, that are concept albums,
yeah,
which I love. Basically all of my favorite artists are essentially concept artists, if you
yeah,
will. And whether you're exploring, the universe looking for eternal love, or you're, exploring some sort of dystopic planet like in Descent, there's always seems to be a deeper meaning behind that. So I'm wondering, would you consider yourself a concept artist? And I think on a deeper level, how do you feel like with people's, like endlessly shrinking attention spans, how do you feel like you can hold people's attention for, to really chew on the stories that you're creating?
Uh, I think as from a storytelling point of view, I think if you can tell a good story in so many different ways, and if it's good, then it will find hopefully it will find its audience, and it's but
Hmm.
again it's I've not again it sounds terribly up myself as it were, but it's I don't sort of approach it with a oh I wonder if people will like this, I wonder if people will like that, I wonder if this kind of record would work. Oh, maybe I should try and do this kind of record. There's never, I mean, I suppose I'd be lying if I said those thoughts don't ever enter your head. You do one that people like, you think, oh, great, I should probably do another one like that, but it never works because it kind of gets away from I'm doing it for other people then, and I can't do it for other people. I can only do it for myself. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of the time, the concepts behind these sort of records they're not immediately obvious, and whether it's a subconscious thing that's there, but it hasn't quite risen up yet, or not. I'm not sure, but a lot of the time it will start that I'll have like an idea for a sound and start writing in that direction, and then almost as that's happening, the story's kind of forming as it happens. I don't tend to start with right. I'm going to tell this kind of story, so I need that and that, and then we're to that point and that point and that point. There's never like a even like a story beats kind of thing, that is a script but with not a lot of detail in it. That tends to come later. It almost tends to come that I'm obviously writing it in this way, and then I get about halfway through, and then the idea tends to present itself, and then it's kind of retrofitted into what's already there, and then there's a little bit of okay, now I would, if it's going off in that direction, then maybe something like that, maybe something like that. But it's yeah, no, it's a strange process. There's never any
Hmm.
clear idea at the start. I don't really understand. Don't really understand it, so I'll
You
just
don't
follow where it
understand
goes.
the magic behind even what you're doing.
No, it's honestly,
Mystery to you.
I worry if I think about it too much, I'll ruin it. So
You
it's
sound like you're an overthinker like me, so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I try not to complicate it because when you start thinking about it too much, that's when it tends to fall apart. It's like the best ideas just kind of come generally quite quickly.
So, touching on that is a great little segue into my question about your favorite retro kind of media, right? I'm just
Yeah,
wondering, like, if you're stuck on a desert island and you have, one CRT TV, a boom box,
yeah.
whatever else, what kind of three pieces of that retro media are you taking with you on that island?
I mean, I would take. Can I take a collection of books? Would that count as one item? Can I get away with
Sure.
that?
It's like
Can
an
I have
anthology or
the?
something or a
Can
series.
I have then the Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book set?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Because that's very. I've read them. I read them when I was young. So sort of superbly written, very British
Aged
sense
like
of
a fine
humor.
wine, huh?
Oh, it's fantastic. The some of the silly ideas, and that's the best bit. It's kind of like sci-fi rooted, but it's at the same time it's very silly.
Yeah,
It's the
it's not
idea.
to take itself too seriously.
Yeah, there's one character in the second book where he's a rock star, but he's having a year off dead for tax purposes. Someone's still wheeling him round because he still needs to be seen, but he's dead. And then in a year they'll bring him back once he's done this tax dodge, and ideas like that was and then oh god, and then I'd have to try and pick two albums, which would be difficult because honestly you could ask me like every day of the week and I'd probably have a different answer for you. I would, for longevity, I would take Rio by Duran Duran, that album.
Okay, yeah.
That was an early favorite. Love that album. Great album.
We've touched on kind of some of the beginnings and the past of where you were,
Hmm.
but I also want to kind of bring us to the present because as you alluded to earlier, your music has evolved quite a bit, right? And I think if I'm not mistaken, right now you're in this kind of like ambient kind of like chill synth music
Yeah,
essentially, which I love. That's the kind of music that my music partner Noah
yeah.
produces. It's a great style, and I've really loved listening to your what direction you're going in. Can you maybe just quickly touch on what's kind of inspired that and whether or not that's kind of what your fans can expect going forward?
So I'm always trying to sort of break, and I'm always trying to break my music down to like, the bare minimum. It's like, what can I get rid of? It's always, what can I get? It's never, what can I add? It's like, right, can I get rid of that? Can I get rid of that part of it? And I think, and again, that kind of the more chilled sound tends to go that way. So it's not been a conscious effort. Again, it's never a conscious effort to move in any particular direction. But there's this kind of like overriding thought of, less is more. And
Yeah. I
that
mean,
it seems to go that way. And maybe again the stuff that I listen to or the ideas that I'm having or all of that, but it's going that way at the moment. Who's to say it won't take like a 90-degree turn at some point and go in a different direction? But
yeah.
that's certainly where it's yeah where I see it going personally at the moment. I'm enjoying what I'm doing going that way. It's keeping me productive, and I don't like to not be productive. So
Oh, good.
that's
Yep.
sometimes like the big sort of decision is that, I'm not being productive at this, right? Complete change, do something else.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think there's some maturity there, if you will, maybe as you've gotten older,
Yeah,
in realizing that less is more often in
yeah,
life,
yeah,
right? And you don't need as much to sound good. And I've really enjoyed it, so I hope you keep going down that road. Even if you take a 90-degree turn, I'm sure
yeah, yeah,
I'll keep
something,
listening.
yeah,
Speaking of the future
yeah.
and looking forward, I couldn't find any videos, and I'm guessing that's not a coincidence. Do you ever do live performances, and do you have
Uh,
any interest in doing that?
I haven't so far. I don't really. It's more. I like. I like being. I like being in the studio. I like being behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I. If there was ever an opportunity and I ever thought I could do it and could do it the way I wanted to do it, then I don't think I'd be adverse to doing it. But I think it's more the creating of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, and we're at the end of our time here, but I think
Yeah,
the one thing that can't be, I don't want listeners to miss is just how much music and art in general, I guess, that you've put out into the world for them to check out. It's really impressive. I'm not sure if I've seen there may be, I don't know, maybe like Alex. There's a couple other ones, but not many of
mm.
them have put out the kind of volume and matched it with quality as you have. I mean that sincerely. So
Thank you.
it's impressive, and I want to make sure that SynthWorld listeners know where to go to get, hear more of this music. So
Yeah.
if take a couple minutes here to let them know where to go.
Yeah, no, I mean it's all over. It's all over various streaming platforms. You can find it. You should be able to find it on, your choice of streaming platform. I wouldn't want to plug one over another.
Hmm?
Obviously a Bandcamp as well, although given the payment changes they're making to that, we'll see. Because that one's but it's up on there, YouTube. You can find it. It's either Manhatten or Manhatten Synth. I think Manhattan Synth tends to be like handles for socials. So yeah, Instagram and Blue Sky and Threads as well.
Okay.
And yeah, just generally anywhere you can find music, hopefully you can find me. It's just make something that you like, and maybe someone else will like it.
Yeah, I like that. The very like Rick Rubin kind of approach to the philosophy behind producing
Yeah,
music and art. So. Yeah, I love it. Well, you've heard it from himself. Manhattan says it. Just do it. Just get out and go make things. So don't forget that. Again, I appreciate your time. Let me know if there's any way, I can promote any of your music going forward or any of the art you're creating. And yeah, thanks again for your time.
no, no, thank you for having me.
Yeah, keep doing your thing. And as always, until I see you next time, stay retro.
Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro. Stay retro.